Welcome to the Can't Commit to a Book Club, the author interview edition with executive producer Johna of the KJ Today Show. I got the opportunity to talk to one of my favorite authors who just so happens to be from Indiana, Charles Kelley, and you guys will not want to miss this one. Welcome to the Can't Commit to a Book Club with me, executive producer Johna. This show is sponsored by the KJ Today Show. I am here with local Indiana author Charles Kelley. Charles, thanks for coming to book club. Appreciate
Thanks
you.
for having me.
I'm glad I finally got you. I was going down my list of people and I was like, gotta get Charles on the show, man.
I was surprised when I saw the email pop up. I don't get a lot of requests, and so I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Oh yeah, no, I've got a few indie authors that I'm like, I want to talk to you guys. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, of course. I gotta keep my local homies out in the eye so everybody knows that they need to read all of their stuff and
absolutely, yeah.
Get you guys some money because we all need money. What I'm gonna start with is that while I was stalking you on your website, which for all intents and purposes we'll call it research, I did see that you are basically a jack of all trades. You've got poetry, there's a kid's book, there's your motorcycle club book. Like, how do you keep it all together?
I don't, and that's where they all come from. I am just not a focused individual. The fact that I've written a 4-book series astonishes me. So yeah, but no, my thoughts, man, my brain it goes all over the place. And so it's just trying to wrangle and focus on one project at a time. That's the difficult part. But I don't think I do any of that stuff real well, but I sure try.
I think you do it very well. I haven't read any of your poetry, but I do have your books on my shelf. So what got you started into writing and then from going to writing to publishing?
Reading. That's what got me started. I loved reading when I was younger. And as I got into high school and college, I got away from it. And then I graduated from college and needed to escape reality because being an adult, that's not fun. So I got back into reading. And as I was reading, so the story here, my wife and I went down to French Lick, Indiana. It's a little kind of really tiny resort town, some amazing resorts down there. But we went down, and in the gift shop, there was a murder mystery that was set in the resort. And so I was like, hey, yeah, I'm going to get this and I'll start reading it. And so I picked it up and I was reading about the author. And at the time I was living in Muncie, Indiana, and the author happened to be a firefighter in Muncie, Indiana. And in my brain, up until that point, I'm from the middle of nowhere in Southern Indiana. In my brain, authors, they live in New York and LA and Chicago. And it just never occurred to me that authors are just people that write stuff and they can do that wherever they want. And so the fact that, wait a second, this dude wrote a book and he lives where I live.
And he's a firefighter on top of that.
And he's a firefighter, yeah, right. And Patrick J. O'Brien, by the way, is his name. He's got a ton of books out there. They're great. I love them. So after I read his book, I was like, I like to read. I could try writing a story. And so I started working on some short stories. And then from there, I decided, all right, I want to try to write a book. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it anyway. And so then after I wrote it, I had to publish it. And it's a real kind of niche audience. It's about outlaw bikers. Yeah. And so it's not real appealing to the mass audience. And so going traditional with it just wasn't there. And I was a nobody, not established. And so I self-published and figured out that process along the way. And that was a lot, but it was worth it. And I got to keep complete control of my story and the entire series and stuff like that. I did not know what I was getting into because the cover design, the editing, all that stuff, I had no help. And luckily I was able to meet a lot of other local authors and we were able to trade services and proofread and edit for each other. And so I'm pretty proud of the final product of the books. They really came out pretty clean. There's a few things here and there that hindsight being 2020, I would probably change a little bit, but I am really pleased with the way that the story came out, and I think that they're pretty clean for not being like traditionally published.
Oh, I love them. And you can always do what like other authors do and be like 10 years down the road and be like, guess what? We're re-releasing with a new cover.
Right.
Because I've noticed a lot of authors doing that, like with the Twilight series, like they've redone those covers like a million times. I'm like, I can't keep buying the same book with a different cover. That's too much.
But yeah, give me a bonus chapter. Make it
right.
Make something on the inside a little bit different.
Just going to see like the Snyder Cut. So give it that extra 10 minutes. Was it worth it? Probably not. Probably not. I didn't see the Snyder Cut, so I don't actually know if it was worth it. But from what I hear, it wasn't.
It was. I think it was a little more than 10 minutes. It was long.
Oh, I know this. I know, like the movie in general was like long, but
yeah,
they were like, "Oh, the Snyder Cut." I'm like, who cares? I'm not a DC fan, as you can tell. Like that's a pillow of Chris Evans right there. So
you're not gonna get an argument from me. DC just has not been able to figure out how to make a decent movie, and I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, and James Gunn is just blowing it all up now.
We'll see. Time will tell.
I won't see. I will not be wasting my money.
Fair enough.
I will log on to someone else's HBO Max and watch it for free.
For as good as DC TV shows have been, their movies have just not met.
Dude, I know. Give me Arrow, give me Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. So good. And I'm just like, what happened to the movies? And why are they so dark?
Oh, so dark.
Literally dark. I mean,
yeah.
I can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So what was it like when you moved from writing short stories, which I mean can be like 20 to 100 pages, I think, to a full-on like just, and not even just a novel, but like a book series. Like you wrote 4 books.
Yeah, so it was an experience, and I learned a lot from it, because so it wasn't planned out. This book series wasn't even supposed to be what I started writing. My plan was to write a zombie novel, and then before I even started that, as I was doing the research, that story grew into a series itself. And so then that intimidated me, because that's what it was like, going from a short story is like, where do I start writing a series? I don't have the experience, I don't have the knowledge. And so I put that on the back burner. And so I was like, all right, I want to write a story. I don't want to have to do a bunch of research. I've already been doing that for the zombie book. So just what's something I'm familiar with? What's a world I know that I can just write about and jump into it and get going? And I ride motorcycles, and I've just been infatuated with the motorcycle culture for a long time. And so I know that world. And so, all right, fine, I'm going to do that. And I had a really bad plot about the main character is going to be undercover agent. He's going to infiltrate the club and take them down, and it's going to blow up and all this stuff. And it's not even that original. And the only other thing that I was adamant about was, as I was writing the story, I'm not writing a love story. There's not going to be a love interest. That's just, I don't connect with the romance genre. And so I just didn't even want to touch it.
Man, you're talking to the queen of like romance novels over here. I got like a whole section of Harlequin romance books.
And it's a huge genre for a reason. People love it, but I just don't connect with it.
Right.
But I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I had to put a love interest in there. So there's a little love story, and it's not fleshed out. I did not do a good job of telling that story because I didn't want to. I was compelled. But no, so that was supposed to be a standalone book. My plan was to kill the main character at the end. He's going to be dead. And that way there's no possibility of a series. I was going to do that book and get the experience of, this is how I write a book and this is how I publish and stuff like that. And then I was going to get to the zombie series. But he didn't die at the end. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't read it. And so now there's 4 books in the series.
He said, man, he just would not die.
I tried my best to kill him.
Look, man, I've talked to a couple of authors, and they're just like, these characters just take on a life of their own. Like, I'm writing it down, and they're like, it never goes as I planned. I start out like this, they're gonna die at the end. Just kidding. They get 4 books.
It's really weird. And I think that it's like, it's a weird concept for people to understand. I didn't understand it before I started writing, but as you're creating characters, and if you do it properly, you create like a whole person. Mm-hmm. And so they have their own personality. They have their tendencies, like they have their decision-making, like their thought process. Mm-hmm. And so you can have a story planned out, but if it doesn't line up with that character, then things change. And it sounds like such a weird concept, but that is actually what happens.
I read on your website that you're also a published poet, and from one poet to another. How's that going for you?
No, not good. Listen, I don't know what I'm doing. I see calls for poetry. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take a stab at it. Okay. And I've been lucky enough to get included in some poetry anthologies.
That sounds like you're doing pretty good.
It's working, but no, it's definitely not my strong suit. But I like, it's creative. Mm-hmm. And if there's like, if the call speaks to me and I can come up with an idea, then the way my brain works is, all right, let's see what this idea's got behind it, got with it.
I know writing a series, coming from a person who's has constant writer's block, what do you do? What did you do? What do you do when you get stuck?
So far, I've been really lucky. The only time I have really hit hardcore writer's block is with the first book. And like I said, I barely had a plot. There was no outline. And I got to a point where I didn't know where to go with the story. I knew where I wanted it to go, but I didn't really know how to get there. Mm-hmm. And I stopped writing for probably 6 months, maybe even longer than that. And one of my friends told me, it was like, just jump to the next plot point and start writing, and then come back and bridge that gap. And that worked. That's what I did. And it really got me flowing. And the first book is really a tale of 2 books. Like the first half of the book, I didn't know what I was doing. Listen, I didn't go to school for creative writing. Like I don't have a communication background.
Like, look, let me tell you what, I have both of those things. Like I have a degree in creative writing and a background in communications. We get effed up just like everybody else. How many stories I've started and they're just sitting on my Google Drive right now.
But I didn't even understand. I didn't know plot pacing, plot development, character development. I didn't even understand that stuff, right? It didn't even dawn on me, oh, there's a structure, there's a format. And so the first book, it is a tale of 2 books in itself. The first half, I was just winging it and I had no idea what I was doing. And throughout that first half, I started to kind of like learn more as I went through the process. Mm-hmm. And so the second half, you can really tell, like it picks up steam, like the story, like things start clicking and falling in place. And you can see the progress in my brain as I was learning how to write, basically.
It's so hard for me because I've tried and tried and tried. And really the only thing that I can get a continuous thought stream on is poetry randomly. Because poetry doesn't have to be like stanzas and blah, blah, blah. It's just, I'm sad. I can't believe it. This is terrible. Oh, relatable. I also see that you co-authored a children's book. So what was that? One, to write a children's book, but also to write with another person and put a children's book together.
Yeah, so I actually wrote it. And then my writing partner, he had a graphic design background. And so he did the art for me. And so, yeah, it was real simple. And it's a joke. There are very few things that I do seriously. And the name of the book is, it's about an impossibly buoyant toy boat. And the name of it is My Ship Don't Sink, because getting a 2-year-old to say my ship don't sink doesn't come out like that. And so that just made me giggle because I'm an 8-year-old child on the inside. And so that's it. It's just a bad joke. And it teaches really bad grammar for small children. But listen, though, as a parent, if I'm going to read the same children's book over and over and over, then make it entertaining for me.
Yeah.
Listen, Goodnight Moon is a wonderful children's story, but that's not fun for me. But if I can hear a 2-year-old say my ship don't sink and not quite say it, hey, I'm going to get a chuckle out of it.
Oh, man. me going to Amazon and buying all of my friends whose kids don't have great grammar skills and shipping it to their house. I'm like, please have your child read this book out loud. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so funny. Man.
I actually have a follow-up, but my partner, he's got real life stuff and he's had to step away and things like that. So he's not available to do the art for me. And getting art done is just crazy expensive. So he was generous enough for the first book. He did the art for me. But I actually have a follow-up. I don't even know if I should say this because if somebody steals it, I'm gonna be really mad. But it's about driving different types of trucks. And like maybe the main character doesn't know how to drive a particular type of truck, but it turns out it's just the same old shift. And so that's the follow-up. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but I like the idea.
Okay, Charles Kelley trademark right there.
Yeah, nobody steal my idea.
I'm calling it out right now. You heard it here first on Johna's Book Club. Same old shift with an F.
Yes.
Look, man, if I was an artist, I would 100% be like, I am behind this 100%. But I cannot draw.
Me neither, and that's the problem. That's why it probably will never see the light of day.
You can always find somebody online to do it.
I know. Or hey, you get a generous listener.
Oh.
Hey,
look, if anyone out there is listening to the Can't Commit to a Book Club, or watching it, you can get Charles at ckfiction.com.
Yeah. If you're generous and you don't want anything for your services, I am the guy that can help.
Do you just want love and affection and maybe a ride on the motorcycle?
Hey, I could do that.
Look, honestly, I'd do it for a ride on the motorcycle.
The love and affection, I think my wife might not be cool with that, but the ride
not
on the
like
motorcycle.
that kind of love, and just like the thanks, man. You can come over for dinner sometime. You can be my next. Good. You could be my next kid's godparent or something. I did also see on your website that you did a sequel to what's it called, Rad?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what that is, but can you please tell me what Rad and Rad 2 is, please? Thank you.
I will absolutely tell you what Rad and Rad 2 is. So Rad is a cult classic 80s BMX movie that is just super cheesy and wonderful. And it might have actually been like Lori Loughlin's first major movie role, maybe. I don't know. And it is just, it's awesome. And especially as a kid from the 80s growing up, man, they were doing tricks and it was incredible. And at the end, there was this racetrack called Hell Track. Come on. And so in my house, that was a go-to staple for movie night. And all right, so that movie has stuck with me. And because it's a cult classic, nobody knows about it. But when somebody does, there's just this instant bond formed with that person. And so that story, I actually did kind of co-write. I made some cheesy reference to the movie, and somebody actually caught it at a social event. And so then me and that guy were best friends immediately. And that conversation turned into, what would those characters be doing now? And the more we talked, the more I really wanted that story to exist. But the movie studio, I don't even think the movie studio exists anymore. And like the producers and stuff, they just refuse to recognize their fans and do anything with the property.
Lame.
And yes, exactly. And so I was like, you know what, like with Cobra Kai being a thing, I was like, it's the same thing. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to write it then. I can't do anything with it because it's fan fiction. I don't own any of the rights. So I wrote it. It's just a quick, easy read. It's a novella that maybe 40,000 words, maybe. You can read it in probably 2 hours, but it's available for free download on my website. But that's what it is. That's where it came from. And I've just tried to take the story that I love and do it justice by modernizing it and seeing where would those characters be now.
I love that. I love a good fan fiction, especially because you have to care so much about something to write fan fiction about it.
Yes, I went back, I watched the movie, I was Googling what's the name of the school in the town. I wanted to get it right. And there's no need for it, but I wanted it to be right.
Look, man, There is always a need, okay? You never know. Someone's probably downloaded that and they're like, man, I wish this was a movie right now.
I've got some great feedback from it. And that's probably my most popular story, which really sucks because I can't do anything with it.
It's always the stuff that you give out. It's always the cult classics. If someone did like a Breakfast Club spinoff and they were just like, I can't actually make a Breakfast Club 2. But then it's like, oh, this is the thing that everybody loves. Oh, thanks. This is so fun for me. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. I'm putting that in the universe for you.
I sent a copy of it to the main character in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't expecting anything, but I don't know, maybe just like a thank you. But no, all right, that's fine.
It's okay. Look, honestly, probably because I'm already like a normal person, but if someone was like, if I was like a movie star and they'd be like, I wrote this fan fiction for you, I'd be like, you care enough about me and the character that I played to write about me?
I know.
Man, that was wild. That's crazy.
And I don't even know if he got it. Maybe he didn't even get it. Who knows?
His like mail person probably opened it and read it. Was like, nah. I hope not, because as a person who actually does have to, for my job, I have to figure out like if mail needs to be like sent to a different department or if it needs to be shredded. So I'd be like, but I'm also nosy. So like, I'd be like, ooh, I'd be like, here you go, Mr. Such and Such. You should read this. That's just because of who I am as a person.
I was hoping it would get to him, but I don't know.
It could have got to him and he could have probably has ADHD like the rest of us. And he was like, this is great. And then he like sat it down and it was out of his line of sight. And then he started doing something else.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Do you know how much stuff I got going on over here that I'm just like, I'll get to it eventually.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, that's where that went. Man, I've been looking for that.
I know my wife, she keeps asking me to do things and feels like she needs to remind me like every 6 months. Like, just I'll get to it.
It'll get done, gosh. Oh man, Charles, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me during book club. If you guys want to find Charles, you can find him at ckfiction.com and make sure you get his Kings of Chaos series. It is great. And if you see him at, I don't know, where did I meet you at? A Books and Brews? If you catch him at a Books and Brews or somewhere where they're harboring the local authors, get them to write a good pun for you.
That's a staple. Those go in there.
It was honestly, it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. My friend was like, he didn't do that. And I was like, oh, he didn't? Okay, bet. Like I came home and I was like, this is what he said. She was like, why are you being so aggressive? I was like, because you didn't believe me.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Well,
And
hey.
I always like chatting and talking about writing.
Charles, thank you so much. Thanks for watching my video, friend. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed doing it. For more interviews like this one, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KJ Today. And if you want to read my book reviews, you can check them out at kjontheair.com.